Hi guys, and welcome back to our Reborning tutorial series. In the last video we have definitely started to bring this doll to life. So we did some modeling, and if you remember, at the end of the video I was showing you how bright the modeling was, and it really was too bright and I wanted to correct myself. First of all, the recipe for the blood red paint mixture was supposed to be slightly different. If you remember, it was phthalo red, burnt umber, and then I added a little bit of bright red color. Instead of bright red, you're supposed to add a little bit of ultramarine blue to kind of cool off the color, and that will help the color not to be too bright. And the second point is that paint should have been diluted more so that when you put it on the doll, it's not very obvious. It's kind of more subtle modeling. So that's the correction I wanted to make, and I wanted to also show you that after I have let the limbs to dry off completely and I looked over them very carefully, I did not like how bright it was, and so what I did, I took a clean sponge like this and I basically kind of buffed out some of the paint after it was dried, and that's one of the ways that you can take away some of the brightness, and that worked well for me, and I think that I am pretty happy with what the limbs look like. And hopefully you can see the limbs and it's focusing, and I'm happy with the legs and the arms. It doesn't look too bright, but yet it looks like our doll is coming to life. And again, see on the head we have modeling on the head itself, on the back, but the face mostly is clear of paint and looks kind of plain. But like I said in my last video, don't worry, because we're going to add color to the cheeks and chin and forehead with our blushing layer later on. Now usually at this point, after you have done 3 layers of modeling, you would be starting on your veining, but I have decided to start on creasing instead. And it's not going to be the only time you crease, but it's going to be the beginning of the creases, because last time I had such a hard time painting my creases. I want to start early on in the process so that by the time the doll is almost done and you have to do your final creasing, there's already some color in the creases. So let's go and head on to our table and we'll start on our creases. Okay, so to make our creases color, we're going to use Bountiful Baby Thinning Medium. Kind of looks like this. We're going to take some and put it in a small well. I'm going to have just a little bit of thinning medium here just to dip my brush in it. Then we're going to use some Pearl Red color and mix it in with the thinning medium. Now we're going to add some ultramarine blue to make it kind of more purple color. We're going to use just a touch of burnt umber and just a touch of Genesis Red to brighten it up a little bit. Let me see, I might want to put some more thinning medium in there to dilute it a little bit, and maybe just a little bit more of Pearl Red. Sometimes you can even add a little bit of this color called Dioxazine Purple. I'll put just a touch. It kind of lightens it up a little bit. Okay, so this is what the color is supposed to look like, or at least that's the color I like for the creases. And I have learned this color from Kim also, from Custom Doll Baby. And again, to make this color, you mostly need thinning medium, Pearl Red, and ultramarine blue. These are the main colors. And then you add a little bit of, just a touch of red, a touch of burnt umber, and if you like to, you can add a little bit of Dioxazine Purple, but it's up to you. To paint your creases, you will need one of the liner brushes that's really thin to apply the color inside of the creases, and then you will use a little shader brush that's more flat to kind of blend it in. I use all kinds of different shader brushes. This one, for example, is an elf brush that I bought at Walmart, so we'll try that too. So now is going to be the moment of truth. We'll see if this vinyl will take on the color or the paint, or will it not. And I'll start with this crease. Okay, so we put in the color. Now let's see if it doesn't wipe off. And yep, it wipes off again. Let's try this brush. Well, some color stayed in there, but some of it wiped off. So what we're doing with creases here is just kind of shading inside the creases so it appears like they're deeper. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And on the tutorials I watched, people would apply the paint inside of the creases, and then they would take a little shader brush and would just kind of smear it inside a little bit, leaving some color on it. But whenever I do that, it seems like the paint just wipes off. What I'm doing here, actually, I'm just cleaning off some of the paint that got out of the line. So what I did is just basically paint the creases inside of the creases and then either leave them like they are or let them dry a little bit and then try to take off the extra paint. So I think this is what I'm going to do again and see how that works. And you're taking just a little bit of paint, just a touch, and you're using very, very thin liner brush. Do you see that? That makes it look like those are actual folds. So I'm not going to leave it like it is. I'm going to let it dry a little bit and then take off some paint with either this brush or this little shader brush. But for now, I'm going to focus on just painting the color inside. Another thing with creases is that some of these lines are folds, like right here. You see the arm is folded. So that would be a darker color or more concentrated color inside. And you can do that by making your color a little more concentrated for those parts, or you could just add more here and less on the other sides. So just keep in mind that the folds should be darker, and then as it comes out of the fold, it should be lighter. And if you made a little mistake or something, you can take a brush or a Q-tip and clean it around. Now your arm kind of starting to look three-dimensional, and these areas right here starting to appear more raised, these little fedoras. Now we're going to do this fold right here. You could see that it's a fold because the hand went like this. I wanted to show you that I'm just getting a little bit of paint from the side right here instead of from here. You're gonna smear some of the paint on the side, and then if you just take a little bit from the side, then your lines are much more fine than if you would have taken it from the inside of the well. See what I mean? There's a lot of little tiny wrinkles inside of the hand and feet usually. So you want to hit them all, at least a little bit. Doesn't it start to look more three-dimensional to you? I see that some of the paint already dried here, so I can go ahead and take my shader brush and just kind of go in there and shade it a little bit so it doesn't just look like a line. And some of the color will come off, but especially at the ends you want to take some of the color off. Like I said, creasing is, to me, the most difficult thing to figure out how to do. So if you are a professional and you have a better way and you have some advice for me, I would really appreciate it if you would write it in the comments and tell me how to do it, or if I'm doing it right, or does this even work? It seems like it works to me. Now, these are not all the creases on this arm. Well, it is all the creases on this arm, but it's not all the creases on this hand. but it's most of them, so I just wanted to show you what it looks like when it's creased. And in comparison, this is what it looks like when it's not creased. See the difference? I'm going to go ahead and finish creasing this arm and the other limbs. And when I get to the face, I'm going to show you how I crease there. Okay, so now I'm going to start creasing on the face. And what I'm going to be creasing is these folds right here over the eyes. I do not like to crease these folds underneath because, especially on this doll, it's really deep already. And I just personally don't like when that is creased underneath. Then we're going to crease around the nose and inside of the nose. We're going to crease and shade a little bit of under the nose and where the chin is, and maybe inside the lips also. And then also we're going to crease inside of the ears like this. So let's start with the eyes. These folds over the eyes are already very, very deep because of the way they were sculpted. But you see that just a little bit of color makes them look even deeper. This kit is kind of nice because the sculptor, who I believe is Eileen Peterson, the way she sculpted her, the deeper creases or the folds are actually sculpted deep, so you don't have to put too much color on them to make them look deep. So that's nice. See how that looks? Okay, then we're going to go on our nose and just go right around like that. And sometimes even over a little bit like that. See that? Basically just follow the sculpt and you should not go wrong. See how just a little bit of that shading makes that spot under the nose look deeper. Whoops, the sun came out and now it's really bright. I'm gonna go inside of the nose now and try to shade there a little bit. I hope you can see it well. It's very subtle at this point, but that's what reborning is all about. It's just building up that color layer by layer. Okay. Now we can do a little bit of the creasing on the lips, especially where you see the creases. See that? Boy, I really hope you can see it with the light. I'll take some of it off. So it looks like that. And then let's go around this little milk bump here. Sorry you couldn't see that. There we go. Kind of like that. And then we should probably go inside the mouth and just make it a little darker in there. And then come out here and do a little crease. Kind of like that. And then we're going to go on the chin, kind of being a little sloppy here. But we can always clean it up and we can take extra paint off if we don't like it. Just keep doing it until you like it. There we go. Now we're going to go to the ears and we're going to make these areas right here appear darker. Like right there. See how that makes it look darker? And then right here, of course, where the ear canal would be. You see how it's kind of shading it? So we're doing creasing and shading at the same time here. And her ears are beautiful. Beautifully sculpted. And if you got sloppy again, like I just did, just go and wipe that off. This looks kind of raw because I'm going to let it dry and then buff it out. In fact, I'm going to add some color to this. So there we go. Now this kind of looks like a real ear. And look, her face is really starting to get defined. So I'm going to do the same thing on this ear and then come back after I buff it all out and finish all the limbs, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I just wanted to come back and show you how I blend the creases. So I dropped the paint in the creases and I waited for it to dry a little bit. And now I'm going back with this shader brush, and this is another e.l.f. $1 brush that I found at Walmart, and it's kind of thick right here, so it works well for this. And I kind of get the extra paint out, so there's just a shadow of paint left. Like right here I took out some of the paint already. See, it makes it look more natural. Also right here on the foot, this is just paint that dried, and I'm going to take some of it off by going over it with this brush. And if this brush doesn't work, I take some of the paint with this little angled brush And if there's really stubborn paint, I use toothpick to get it out, because you want your creases to look natural and not like they're bleeding or something. Again, right here it's not blended yet. I'm going to go over it like this and blend it so that the final result looks more subtle. Something kind of like this. I'm going to work on it just a little bit more, and when I come back I'll show you the whole kit and what it looks like now after we have creased it.